In this lesson, we will discuss part number 2 of question number 1. And question we have that find by definition the derivatives with respect to x of the following function defined as, and function we have f of x is equal to 2 negative square root of x. Right, again we have to solve by definition, so it has 4 steps. First, we will consider that y is equal to 2 negative square root of x, and we will say this is our equation number 1. So step number 1 is taking the increment on both sides of the equation. Taking increment on both sides. Right, both sides means right and left sides of the equation. So here we have y, so it means we will add an increment which is delta. Delta means change y, which is equal to 2 negative. Here we have x, so we have to add delta x, not delta y. Here we have y, that is why we have added delta y. Here we have x, so we have added delta x. What is the next step? We will take this y to the right hand side of the equation, and the sign of this y will change. It is positive y. Here it will be negative y. We will say this is our equation number 2. Now what is the next step? See, it is y, and here I said y is equal to 2 minus square root of x. So put the value of y from equation 1 into 2. You can write down here, put the value of y from equation 1 into equation 2. So when we will put the value, it will be delta y is equal to 2 minus square root of x plus delta x, and whenever you will see negative in math, you should be very careful. Why we have here two terms, 2 minus square root of x, right? That is why I have used this parenthesis, because it will change the sign of positive 2, it will change the sign of negative square root of x as well. Okay, now I can do here. It will be 2 minus square root of x plus delta x. It will be negative 2 and it will be positive because we have here negative. Negative will change the sign. Whatever you have in parentheses, it is negative 2, it is positive 2. This will cancel each other. Now we have on the numerator, but we have only numerator so far, negative square root of x plus delta x plus square root of x. So how I can write down this? I can write down delta y is equal to square root of x negative square root of x plus delta x. Actually, it's this negative term was here, so I have just rearranged it. If you will write down, that is fine also, no problem. So see, we do not have any denominator, so it means 1. And how we will solve this question? Here you have to take, or you have to rationalize it. What is the meaning of rationalize? Whatever you have in the numerator, you have to write down same thing one more time here. We will multiply and divide the same thing whatever you have in the numerator, but the condition is you should be very careful with sign. If you have a negative sign here, in rationalize you have to make it positive, but here if you have a positive you have to make a negative. Again, this will be the formula. What kind of formula it is? We have learned in grade 6, a square minus b square, which is equal to a plus b into a minus b, right? So this is a, this is b, same thing we have with the positive sign, same thing we have with the negative sign. So instead of a we have square root of x. It means the square of this is a square, then minus whatever we have instead of b, we have square root of x plus delta x. So the square of this is a square minus b square. Multiply with 1 in the denominator, we will have same thing, square root of x plus delta x. Right, now what we have to do? See, this is the square. I can show you here. This is x power 1 over 2. This is square root means 1 over 2, and then we have a power of 2 as well. so this will cancel each other. It means this 2 will cancel this, we have only x in the numerator. Same thing, this will cancel with this 2, we have x plus delta x, but keep in mind we have negative sign here. It will make this x negative, it will make this delta x negative as well, but in the denominator we will have square root of x plus square root of x plus delta x. So this will cancel. Now delta y is equal to negative delta x over square root of x plus square root of x plus delta x. So we have solved step number 2. Now we are moving to step number 3. What is step number 3? Whatever you have here, you have to divide by delta x both sides, because we are doing our derivation with respect to x. So here we have delta y divided by delta x. Sorry, here I can write down, this is step 3, and here you have to write down divide both sides by delta x, right? So whatever we have in the numerator, it is negative delta x divided by delta x into we have square root of x plus delta x, right? This will cancel each other. We have only negative 1 in the numerator, and in the denominator we have square root of x plus square root of x plus delta x, right? Now what? Now is the fourth step, step number 4, and in step number 4 we will take the limit. We will apply the limit. So here you can write down by applying limit. I will write down for you by applying limit delta x tends to 0 on both sides. So delta y over delta x, where delta x tends to 0, limit equal -1 divided by limit delta x tends to 0, and we have square root of x plus delta x, right? Keep in mind that you have to apply a limit on delta x, not on x. So when we will apply limit delta x tends to 0 on delta y over delta x, it will be delta y over, dy by dx. When we will apply limit delta x tends to 0 on this function, it will become delta dy by dx. And here we have -1 divided by, see here we will apply limit on this and this, but only on delta x. So here we do not have any delta x. It means this is constant, it will remains the same, plus here we have x plus 0, because here we have delta x, so here we have to write down 0. If you want, you can apply limit, because these are two separate terms, one by one. Here I am doing just direct, but otherwise you can write down limit delta x tends to 0 square root of x plus limit delta x tends to 0, and then this, right? So it will be -1 delta x plus delta x, right? Because this is 0. And here I can write down, which implies that -1, see there is a positive sign between them, they are not multiplying, this is the positive, it means 2 square root of x, because these are 2 times. So our dy by dx is equal to -1 divided by 2 into square root of x. Again I would say this is the lengthy problem, lengthy question, but it's easy, practice it. If you have any question, you can ask me. Subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.